One more audio check. Check, check. Audio check. Check, check. Check, check. All right, we have audio. So I'm just going to wait a little bit and then we will go. If you're here, I'm just waiting on folks. So, for those who are here, I'll just quickly preview what we're going to go over today. I got a question on X that I thought I would answer for this week's first Q&A. And, I'm just getting going. So, pretty sure that most people are joining yet. It takes a while to kind of get this going. And so what we're going to do today is just answer this question, which is, you're giving away business ideas. What is this going to? How does this benefit uh, economic equality and opportunity? And I'll walk through this in some pretty deep detail to try and explain this question. And the reason I'm going to go in detail is like this is the why behind what I'm doing, and it's to me it's very important. It's like what motivates me. And I hope to make it relevant and important to you. Just a sec, sorry. Just getting it, waiting for a couple more minutes, and then people will join. One more minute. One more minute. And for those who just joined, today we're going to be going over a question that I got on X. This question here. "30 seconds." I tried to get a timer, but like I'm still new with all this technology, and I'm not good at it like, at all. So I'm keeping things simple. So I'm vocalizing the countdown. All right, so let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Q&A that we're having for the AI Sprint for How Do. I got a question on Twitter, and I thought it would be fun to start by answering this question. And so I pulled together a deep answer for this. And the reason I'm going deep on this question is because this is my why, right? This is what motivates me. This is what I'm excited to do in my life. You know, this is not like something I think I'm going to solve in the near term, but hopefully over the long term. And so the question is, giving away business building ideas is a brave step in the direction of democratizing access to entrepreneurial knowledge. Thank you for the compliment, Alini. What potential effects do you see on economic equality and opportunity if these innovations are widely accessible? So let's dive into this. My primary motivation is that we must strengthen the economy, and I think that's kind of a broad, generic statement, and I'll dive into specifically how we're going to do that. But the why, in terms of why we must strengthen the economy, is I think American workers deserve opportunity. And, when the economy is not strong, opportunity is lacking. And I see three major opportunities right now at the economic level, and I'll show you how these work at the individual level. But the three big economic opportunities I see are to teach mature companies to spend the $1.4 trillion a year that they spend currently on dividends and buybacks on R&D or innovation. Uh, Also, I see a huge opportunity to reduce the failure rate of new products and companies, which costs, in my estimation, and this is real math using like McKinsey, Harvard, actual data, but to reduce the failure rate of new products and new companies. Right now, the failure rate of new products is 95%, 70% of business transformations fail, and 50% of new businesses fail within 5 years. And these are huge numbers. And I think it's about 2 trillion in GDP a year that we lose as a result of this. And then we need to build new companies. New companies in America are the primary source of wealth creation. And so if we want to revitalize the economy, it starts with creating wealth. And I believe everyone should have access to that ability. And innovation is the way in which new companies are generally successfully built. So the other is that American workers need quality jobs. So at a macro level, we need to teach companies how to innovate. We need to minimize the failure of innovation. We need to create new companies, because when companies can innovate, when they succeed at innovating, and when new companies are created, we create quality jobs. What are quality jobs? Quality jobs are those that provide a living wage, essential and affordable benefits, reasonable hours, professional training, and opportunities for advancement. Everyone has a different definition of quality jobs. This is just mine. I think each aspect of a quality job can drive innovation by ensuring that employees are recognized, empowered, and adequately supported, which creates an environment when new ideas flourish. Now, quality jobs are generally found in growing companies, and currently too many of America's companies are not growing. 495 of the S&P 500 companies are barely growing faster than inflation, and you see that in this chart here. 41% of the Russell 2000 have negative earnings. 4 companies have accounted for 90% of market cap gains in the NASDAQ 100 this year. And, those are NVIDIA, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, all the big tech companies that we talk about. And more than ever, workers must work multiple jobs. The number of Americans working multiple jobs hit a near record of 8.4 million in May 2004. And that's a jump of 3 million people since the pandemic low in 2020. So, we have to actually improve the economy so that it works for all people, and innovation ignites growth at a fundamental level. And so I'm just going to quickly walk through this matrix of how innovation in this virtuous cycle of how innovation ignites growth. So it starts with innovators. Innovators create new solutions. New solutions create new companies, or help grow existing companies. That boosts earnings, which can then be spent on more innovators, spent on more business expenses like salaries, which again creates the cycle. So we'll walk through this specifically. So again, innovators create new solutions. A solution is a product, experience, brand, anything that you think of that a business, a good or service that a business sells. That helps companies grow, which boosts earning, which funds more innovators. You add the second layer to that. As earnings grow, business spending increases, and that's not contained necessarily within the business. That's in the broader ecosystem. There's a lot of business spending is tied to secondary spending. Hiring consultants, hiring contractors, paying for goods and services, B2B, and that drives growth as well. And then you add on top of that, companies that are innovating well and creating new solutions hire more. As they hire more, those jobs are generally quality jobs. And as earnings go up, raises can be passed, or profit can be passed to employees in the form of quality jobs. That boosts consumer spending, which then creates the need for more solutions. And so we add this secondary circle to the virtuous circle. And when you look, you have the B2B spending, business spending, and consumer spending, and that's pretty much our entire economy. If you add government in there, which we will do in a later circle, that is the entire economy between production and consumption. And government is critical to this effort. I think the government's role is to set policies that foster innovation by reducing excessive regulation, not all regulation, but excessive regulation, and allowing Americans the freedom to innovate. So how does government kind of play in this? This gets messy, so let's just clean it up. So government has an important role in that they do collect taxes, and a lot of people complain about that. And I understand the complaint, but I also understand the need for taxes. And because those taxes then go into supporting innovation. So much of the innovation that we use as a society, everything from like radio to Velcro, transistors, computer chips, most of Silicon Valley's foundational technology, like originally came from government support and government spending. So government support, subsidies, tax breaks, things like that promote innovation, promotes business startups. Government spending is it actually buying its own goods and services that it needs to run itself. And then, governments do that in the form of also directly enlisting companies. They don't just spend on their own solution creation, but they spend with companies, and that then continues the cycle. And I also think that as we look ahead for our country, a lot of people talk about the potential threats to population. I think that economic success boosts family creation. There's a lot of evidence to say that when the economy is doing well, we have more families, families have more babies. That's generally true, and that's the evidence supports that. And so as the economy grows, as we produce more solutions, as we get better companies, as we get more quality jobs, we get more families. Families, literally, babies become innovators, and all families need to buy things, which then keeps the cycle going. And so, I think this is the most foundational cycle that we have in the economy. And currently it's suffering. Currently it's not growing as much as it needs to. And I think that innovation not only creates more value in companies, but more jobs and opportunities. And it highlights the substantial benefits over traditional corporate finance strategies. Like traditional corporate finance strategies kind of keep wealth within the company. That's okay. That's great for the people who are within the company and have our shareholders or our executives, but young companies are the ones that create wealth for workers. Mature companies tend to create wealth for shareholders, not workers. And just to quickly dive into this, I'm not criticizing mature companies. Rather, companies, here we go. Companies, if you look, the older they get, the more mature they become, the way they spend their money changes. Mature companies spend on buybacks, dividends, and this is time here, right? So as the company grows, the revenues grow, the free cash flow grows. Then as they go from a startup to mature companies, and then even in the decline, the way they use their capital changes. When they're a startup, they issue a lot of equity. And this equity is generally how workers get paid as well. This is how shareholders get paid. As companies become more mature, they start to focus on buybacks, which is buying your stock back, so buying your own equity back, or paying dividends, which is just issuing cash to shareholders, and that tends to focus the wealth creation on shareholders for mature companies and workers and shareholders for younger companies. And so I'm not against buybacks or dividends, not at all. But when we have so many companies who are mature, if we look at the S&P 500, 70% of the S&P 500 is 50 years or older. 36% is 100 years or older, and 12% is 150 years or older. Again, nothing wrong with that. I love big companies that are more mature. I've worked for many of these, and I consult them too. But the reality is, we need more spending on workers, and these companies spend a lot on shareholders. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's just that when we look at where employees go to make money, where we actually see wealth creation in the economy, we see it's the companies that are spending more on R&D. So this is R&D or innovation. And you look at the names here, and these names are the same ones that were at the beginning of the presentation, the companies that are growing in the economy. And so if we want to get employees earning more, we need to spend more on R&D like these companies, and these companies benefit shareholders and employees. And I think that's important. So I see, therefore, three massive opportunities. We need to teach mature companies to spend the 1.48 trillion they spend on dividends and buybacks on innovation, which is R&D. We need to reduce the failure rate of new products, which again costs the companies around 2 trillion in GDP annually. And we need to build new companies, as that's the primary source of wealth creation in America. Personally, I see this as a national imperative. If we look at the difference between 1960 and 2020, the U.S. share of global R&D has inverted, like literally. And the reason that's risky is that we have competition in the world right now, and it's really one of the first times that we have economic competition. And what we see is that this competition is spending very aggressively on R&D, and they're about to potentially catch up with us in their expenditures. And when we look at the forecast of the year that China's GDP will overtake the United States, is what we see is that as the time progresses, the year changes pretty significantly. And hopefully we're able to keep the American, European, kind of Western economy in the lead as well. Companies that rely on cheap Chinese labor and manufacturing accelerate job destruction. And I get it. I've worked for a lot of companies and advised companies that need China from a manufacturing perspective. However, we have to honestly state that the U.S. has lost 3.82 million jobs due to the trade deficit, and manufacturing 2.8 million jobs have been lost due to China. And again, I'm not bashing on China. I'm saying we need to create American jobs. And the reality is, innovative companies create jobs. If you look at this net job creation for select industries, new industries create more jobs. Younger industries measurably create more jobs. And that goes back to what is the role of the company. I'm not criticizing older versus younger firms. Rather, what I'm stating is that categorically, younger companies make more jobs. So yeah, that's what I think open sourcing innovation will give to the economy. And so that's the question that I'm answering this week. So with that, yeah, I will stop screen sharing and see if there are any other questions. And I don't expect there to be, because it's week one. That's why I answered a question from Twitter. All right, I see the latency. So I'm watching the other channels, and my call for other questions just came through. So if you see a big period of silence, that's why. Okay. Does not look like there are other questions this week, which is totally fine. I want to thank everyone who joined for joining. I hope this answered that question. And to Eleni, who posted this on X, I will tag you in this video so you can get your answer. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a great week. Well, weekend. It's Friday. Enjoy the weekend.